it is time for the one and the only special address, which will be delivered by Dr. Hussein Muhyiddin Qadri, who is a deputy chairman of the board of governors at Minhaj University, Lahore, Pakistan, and an associate professor at the School of Economics and Finance at Minhaj University. He is also president of Minhajul Quran International, chairman of Minhaj Education Society, which runs more than 650 schools and colleges throughout Pakistan. He is the chairman of Aghosh Orphan Care Homes and Al Muwaqat Islamic Microfinance and Minhaj Halal Certification Pakistan. He is affiliated with the University of Melbourne, Australia for a number of years as an honorary fellow. Dr. Qadri is also an author to more than 30 books and has written more than 50 research articles and is a well-known, reputed international speaker. His special address will be on Zakat and microfinance, a novel way towards alleviation of poverty in Pakistan. Now, before any further ado, let me invite Dr. Hussain to share his special address with the audience. Dr. Hussain, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Brother Rizwan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the organizers, especially AOFI, the College of Finance, Muscat, Minhaj University, Lahore, and all other sponsors who have taken part in organizing such a timely, important, and beautiful virtual Islamic Finance Forum. And I pray to Almighty Allah that we get this opportunity more often for our people, for our experts, for the students, so that this industry can flourish and reach up to the point which this industry deserves. Today, as there's a lot of interesting discussions and point of views have been heard here related to post-COVID-19 Pakistan recently in post-coronavirus scenario. So considering that scenario, so I have developed a model which has been derived from already existing studies and works, especially done in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Bangladesh, and bringing those lessons to Pakistan and working on the figures here in Pakistan to work out and come up with something which could help the Pakistan's economy coming out of this present crisis. Moving forward, let's look at the basic figures here, the reality check, I would say. For example, at the present in the world, there is around 1 billion people globally. They are living below in poverty, I would say. And what we see around the world is a high level of income disparity between poor and rich people during last half century that has been aggravated. And then around 75% of the total world resources are consumed by only 25% of total world population. So this kind of economic disparity we are looking at and the world is facing today. And today, this post-coronavirus scenario has increased and aggravated all these situations. And we are into a much more worse scenario, whatever I have discussed earlier. Now look at Pakistan, what is happening in Pakistan in terms of poverty. 25% of total population in Pakistan live below the poverty line. 50% of the total population does not have enough food to feed on.
Assistant, I believe I can be heard.
Yes, you can. We can hear you.
Yes, please. So 25% of the total population in Pakistan live below the poverty line. And then what is happening in Pakistan is could be dedicated to two main issues: unstable countries' economy, inconsistent countries' program and policies, a major hurdle in the way of sustainable development. Then we move forward and we look at the what this coronavirus has created and what kind of impact this has put on us. So if we look at figure 1 here, in which we can see the baseline unemployment figures in Pakistan, it's around 3.86 million people, they are unemployed. There is a different definition between poverty line and unemployment line. Unemployment is usually the people, they don't have work. And poverty line is like maybe they have work, but still they are poor. Whatever they are earning, that is not sufficient to live. So 3.86 million people are unemployed in the country. And if we look at a low level impact of COVID-19 on economic crisis and unemployment in the country, so you see that red area increasing, which means that 0.21% increase we can see in next coming months in unemployment ratio and figures of the country. And if we apply a medium level or a strong level of impact from coronavirus on the world economy, especially the Pakistan's unemployment ratios and figures, then we see that that could reach up to 4.8%, 4.8 million people unemployed. So that could be said that in Pakistan, it's whatever the present unemployment ratios and figures are, so this coronavirus has impacted the unemployment figures, and this will reach up to around 4.8 million people having no jobs. Some other figures and studies are suggesting that Pakistan will have around 18.5 million people losing their jobs, especially from the labor class. And then if we look at the second figure and the graph you see on your screens, the baseline poverty levels in the country, around 54 million people are basically living in poverty in the country. And if we see an impact coming from coronavirus, post-coronavirus scenario on economy, we can say a 75 million people will go into a poverty and start living their lives in poverty. And then if we see maybe a medium or a strong level impact, that would reach up to 99 million. And then it can go further up to 125 million. So we see Pakistan is a country of around 22 crore, 21 crore people. And here, this coronavirus scenario has pushed around 12.5 crore people towards poverty, and they have been forced to live in poverty. And this unemployment scenario is increasing as well, when already the country's economic situation is much different. So here we look at the solution. What solution we are proposing here to look after this unemployment situation in the country, as well as what we are going to face coming from the post-corona scenario. Allah Almighty has blessed Islam and Muslim countries with a default economic management system, which can boost the economies in really a beautiful manner. For example, we see in Quran Majid, Allah Almighty suggests there is a verse of Quran, chapter 73 and verse number 8, in which Allah Almighty states, Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. And then there are various multiple ahadith of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described and explained how the zakat and alms giving is important and obligatory on every single Muslim in the world. So this is kind of an economic system or important element of Islamic economic system, which is called zakat management, which can do wonders with economies. And this is not just a statement or theory. This has actually done that with people. For example, the benefits of zakat management is, the zakat is an important institution, as we know, in Islamic economic framework. Zakat is a means of redistribution of resources. This virtually bridges the divide between rich and poor. Zakat can play an important role in poverty alleviation from countries. Zakat has made a significant contribution in socio-economic development of various Muslim countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and many other countries in Africa. Zakat is one of the tools which can easily help us achieving Maqasidu Sharia and also the sustainable development goals given by United Nations through this model. Then we look at how this zakat management is going on around the world, basically. So zakat collection, we look at various examples of the countries. The zakat collection and distribution is centralized and falls under federal government in various countries like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Sudan, and Oman. When we talk about Malaysia, zakat management is decentralized and provinces are allowed to constitute their own system and manage the distribution and collection accordingly. If we talk about Indonesia, zakat system is decentralized as well, with private entities are also allowed to constitute their bodies for zakat management, and government central body, Baznas, supervise and control all the independently operating zakat management bodies. When we look at the zakat management going on in Pakistan, we see a different scenario. Pakistan has a central management 5-tier zakat system with central, provincial, district, tehsil, and local zakat councils. On the basis of predefined quotas, Central Zakat Council disperses collected zakat funds to lower councils, which are called lower bodies in the country. The zakat management system has been criticized in many studies and also by a top-notch experts around the world and in Pakistan as well. People mostly do not trust the government for distribution of their zakat. There is the need of a serious change from a root level to a top level in existing zakat management system, so the trust of people could be regained and the institution of zakat could be used for economic development in the country. In Pakistan, the non-governmental governmental organizations, Dini Madaris, and other religious organizations are also allowed to collect zakat and distribute them accordingly. When we look at the government department, which is called Zakat and Ushr Department of the Government of Pakistan, so here we can see that the collected zakat by the government of Pakistan, where they are actually investing it back or where they are spending. We can see they are spending on educational stipends, technical, they call it Guzara allowance. I don't know how much effective it is, or I have never heard of it. Provincial level hospitality, they call it. They say marriage assistance. I have never heard anyone telling me that Pakistani government has helped me and assisted me in organizing my marriage. Central Pool Fund, Guzara allowance for blinds, and etc. So it can go on. You can see whatever the collected funds are, they are not being used for economic development or in a right manner. And we can understand why the people cannot trust it. Here are two models of zakat execution or distribution of zakat. One model which usually we go for, the general public. If somebody has to give 100,000 rupees of zakat, So he would distribute those 100,000 rupees in 20 people, every person getting 5,000 rupees. So hardly he will be or she will be able to live a month of Ramzan from those 5,000 rupees. So it is not going to do any economic benefit to that person, rather making him or her just a beggar. And next year, when the month of Zakat and Ramadan comes back, again the same person would be standing in the row, in the queue to collect Zakat again. The other model, which I am proposing here and has been discussed in various studies around the world as well, I am applying that model on Pakistani scenario. That is, that we distribute our zakat in a way which could actually help Pakistan's economy as well as that person's economic situation, and he comes out of his debts and economic crisis. And the next year, when Ramadan comes, that person is actually not standing in the queue to collect the zakat. Rather, maybe Allah Almighty bless that person and he is giving his zakat next year. So we are looking for that model which can actually contribute in national economy. And that has been done around the world. So here is, and to support this model, there is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which I would like to narrate here. It is narrated by Sayyidina Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He states that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, on the night on which I was taken on the night journey, I saw written at the gate of paradise, charity brings a tenfold toward reward, and a loan brings an 18-fold reward. I said, Jibrail, why is a loan better than charity? He said, because the beggar asks when he has something, but one who asks for the loan does so only because he is in need. So here, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described himself that how much important giving a loan is. And then there is another statement of Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in which he states that he states about the term of giving zakat. He says that when you give zakat, make the recipient rich. So the first model of zakat is not making people rich. On the other hand, the model we are proposing here actually can make richer people, and that falls under the light and actual definition which has been given by Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala. So the model is, we distribute the zakat, the total zakat, into the larger chunks and units, and we distribute among people through microfinancing. So in that way, that pool which has been distributed annually by the government, that help people to do their businesses, and by the end of the year, some payments will be back again in the pool as repayments, and that will increase the pool, and the next year more people will be utilizing it. So the same zakat collected pool will be utilized to make people employed and self-employed. Let's look at the figures on your screen. Pakistan's national GDP is 314 billion US dollars. If we translate it into rupees, so we see 50 billion rupees annually. That's the GDP. Unemployment ratio in the country is 5.8% of the total population, which comes out to be 3.86 million people, according to 2017 and 18 survey. The poverty ratio, as per national poverty line, is around 24.3% of the total population, which was calculated in 2019. The poor people living in the country is around 52 million, which is 5 crore and 20 lakh. Let's look at the zakat collected in 2018 and 19 by the government institutions and government of Pakistan. So the zakat collected was around 7.4 billion rupees. For sake of this model and argument, if we say, let's say the government push this whole thing little more and take this total sum to 10 billion rupees annually, the zakat collectibles, So from there, we will start our model. The model will utilize Qarde Hasana form. And we have 10 billion rupees with us to be distributed among the recipients of zakat. And we distribute this 10 billion rupees in a larger chunks and units, and each unit would be of 250,000 rupees. So out of these 10 billion rupees, in total, we will have 40,000 units annually in the first year. So in the first year, we can distribute 250,000 rupees each unit to 40,000 recipients or unemployed people in the country, rather distributing and using this zakat on other various small things which has no benefit or contribution to national economy. And now this amount is given as microfinance loan for 5 years to those recipients. And annually, they will be paying around 4,166 rupees as an installment against that loan, which is a very minimum, and everybody can afford it. But against those 250,000 rupees, they can start different type of businesses. I will come towards it now. So by the end of the year, the next year we will have the received amount as installment would be around 2 billion rupees, and 10 billion more we will receive in as zakat collectibles in the next year. So by the time we enter into the second year, we will have around 12 billion rupees to distribute among zakat recipients. And with that amount, we will help around 0.5 million, means 50,000 more unemployed people to have their jobs or businesses. And again, the same amount, the return will go on, and I'm to save the time, so you can see whatever is there on the table. So I come towards the end. So by the end of the 5 years, in total, we have distributed around 25 billion rupees among those unemployed zakat recipients from the pool of zakat collectibles. And by the end of it, we will be able to give employment or make around 300,000 unemployed people employed through zakat system. Now, let's move to the second case scenario. This was something which has been collected by the government of Pakistan. Let's now look at the private sector. Of course, the private sector distributes zakat much more than the government because they don't trust the government, so they do the distribution by themselves. Looking at there can be different ways to calculate how much zakat is distributed in Pakistan. So then in a study, there is a one way which has been explored. In total, for example, the GDP is 50,000 billion rupees. And if we apply zakat 2.54% on zakat ratio on that GDP, so that comes out to be 1,276 billion rupees. And for sake of argument, we bring it to 2% of the total GDP, which again comes to 1,000 billions roughly in total, if the private sector is distributing that zakat. So they will have around this much amount, 1,000 billion in at pool every year to distribute among the zakat recipients. And if we work with Islamic microfinancing as Qarde Hasana model for that as well, and we distribute this 1,000 billion among the recipients, and again the one unit is around 250,000 rupees. So we will be able to give employment or make at least 4 million people employed or self-employed within 1 year. And by the end of the 5 years, and this continues like that, and again the repayment scenario goes on, and by the end of the next year, we will have the same amount, around 1,000 billion as new zakat collectibles, and from the repayments or the payment coming out as installment would be around 201 billion rupees. So in total, by the beginning of the next year, we will have 1,207 billion as to be distributed. So that goes on. If you see, look at your screen. So by the end of the 5th year, we will have around 2,500 billion rupees to be distributed among zakat recipients, and we will be able to make around 29 million. I mean 29 million, which means 3 crore people employed only by the zakat collectibles in the country. For sake of argument, if we look at these figures and we say that why a private sector would give all the amount on this specific thing, yes, why they will, okay, for sake of argument, we say, okay, only we get 1% of the total GDP in as a zakat collectible. Still, in 5 years' time, we will be able to give employment or jobs or businesses to around 15 million people, which means 101 crore and 50 lakh people can get employed through the zakat collectibles in the country only in 5 years' time. If the government has a proper focus, and if all the private and government sector can do a proper campaign, awareness campaign in the people, 2 things can happen. Either the government becomes successful and they could gather all that amount and pool them in a specific one department of the government, and they can do distribution themselves. Or second thing, whatever the government is receiving at their end officially, they distribute on their own, and private sector do it through the private microfinancing firms, the way other people do, and they're able to achieve the same way. And what we do as institutions and banks, organizations, we spread the awareness among the people. So we can easily, if the private sector comes in and the zakat is there, so we can get easily 1 crore and 50 lakh people for the jobs for this much people. And if the private sector is not there, only the government, whatever they have on their pool or board, if they are able to distribute, still they can achieve 300,000 figure only in 5 years. And what we have earlier discussed, only 3 point some million, like 30-40 lakh people are unemployed. And with this model, we are able to give employment to 1 crore 50 lakh people. Here we can, through graphs, we can see what is happening. Now coming to the products, like with those 250,000 rupees, what kind of businesses people can start? They can do a lot of cottage industries, accessories, stuff in their businesses. So this is not a cash distribution. A proper businesses would be given to the people, the deserving people. They could do a livestock businesses, buffaloes, cows, fishing, farming, poultry, animals, lab accessories, furniture, laptops. There are so many options now for e-commerce businesses, motorbikes for Uber business here in Pakistan, swing machines, handicrafts, boutiques, fornings, auto rickshaws, loader rickshaws, so many things that could be done with 250,000. There are so many businesses, they can even start it with 100,000 rupees. So I have just distributed this whole amount just to work on the model on a one amount, which is 250,000. It's not that everyone will be getting 250,000. Somebody will be getting 100,000. Somebody would be getting maybe a 50,000. Somebody would be getting 150. That way, can you imagine this whole employment scenario can reach up to even 25 million people in 5 years, and people can get job. And the next year, they will be out of those queues which are there to receive. Now, coming to the end of my presentation, which department can do this well? I propose the government entity, which is called SMEDA, Small Medium Enterprise Development Authority. So this could given a chance, as they are expert and they have a human resource to train people and work with small and medium-sized businesses. So this department is linked with that zakat collectibles, whatever is the government at the moment receiving, or this can also work with private sector organizations which are working on microfinancing, like Al Muakhad Islamic Microfinance, run by Minhajul Quran International, or Akhuwat, or many other microfinance private sector institutions. So SMEDA and the government can work with them as well. If the people are not trusting completely in government, so whatever the government could raise in terms of zakat, they do it on their end. The rest they leave to the private sector, and a good media campaign is launched so that the people, that the private sector should give their zakat instead of distributing in small bits. A big chunk should be given so that the unemployed should get employed through the private sector. So SMEDA can work out and work on those businesses models and all those lists. The people can apply online, and then so many other technicalities and housekeeping things which could be done through SMEDA. So this is the basic model which I am proposing here, that through zakat, a combination of zakat and Islamic microfinance, the Pakistan can achieve a drastic change in unemployment ratios of the country, and whatever the poverty which has stricken the Pakistan's economy in post COVID-19 scenario, this could be easily dealt if the government has a proper focus and corruption-free management team is there to look after this whole thing. People can trust the system, and we can easily employ every single unemployed in the country, and we can bring a lot of people who are living below the poverty line back into the right lifestyle, as which is proposed by Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the Islam and Maqasid Sharia. So this was the concept and cases, two major ways I wanted to discuss here, and I presented it. And in the end, I again pray to Allah Almighty that this forum be a very useful forum for everyone, all the participants who are participated and learning through. Wassalam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hussain Muhyiddin Qadri, the Deputy Chairman of Board of Governors at Minhaj University, Pakistan. It was surely a stimulating and thought-provoking presentation from a country like Pakistan, and I'm sure once the model is successful in Pakistan, it can be mimicked in other countries that are facing similar social issues. Now, quickly moving on, in the interest of time, I perfectly believe that it has set the tone for session 2. Now, before we move on to the next session, we would like to remind that another poll question will run through during the session, which you may like to answer immediately or till the end of the session. Now, session 2, and can I also remind the attendees to send in their questions while stating who it is addressed to, so it makes it easier for the moderator to ask the relevant questions.